welcome back to the ChompCast. I've got one of my good vendor friends in the room with us. This is
Derek from Swan's Emporium.
Swan's Emporium, guys. You know him well. He's got a YouTube channel. They put out shorts and long form, and he vends all over especially the West Coast.
Yeah, pretty much only the West Coast right now, but hopefully we'll be expanding to the East Coast here pretty soon.
Very cool, very cool. And you are a vendor of not only Pokemon cards, but of many things. It's an emporium of things, if you will. And we're going to talk about Derek's origin story. He's been in the business for many years, and so he's got his ear to the ground when it comes to not only Pokemon cards, but video games and many other things. So I'm excited to dive in. He's a really good guy. And so, first of all, if you're not a subscriber of his channel, check that out. Derek.
Yes.
How long have you been in the business, my friend?
So, specifically reselling, I've been doing for, at this point, probably 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
I started back when I was in high school, garage sales, thrift stores, all that stuff, with looking for anything that I could flip to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
It really honed into video games, started doing just eBay, selling out of the garage, storing everything.
Cool.
Took up a lot of space.
It's very Gary V of you.
Yes. Took a break during college, sold everything I had. I still am a big collector. And so one of the reasons I chose video games was because I loved playing them. I loved having them and enjoying them. And then after college, I kind of took a break from all that. You know, I didn't spend as much time playing video games. I was more interested in money. And so I was like, I'm going to just graduate, get my job. And, you know, a couple years into that, I was like, this is not as fun as what I used to be doing.
Yeah.
Let me pick it back up. And within about a year and a half, I realized I was making more money on the side doing that than I was at my actual job.
Absolutely.
And that's when I was like, you know, I think it's time to make this a full-time gig. So about 3 years ago, I went full-time. And it's evolved from sneakers to vintage clothing to video games to now Pokemon cards. So a little bit of everything.
So let's talk a little bit about maybe the path you thought you were going to have. You mentioned going to college and then getting quote-unquote real job and then getting disenchanted with that. Mm-hmm. What was the path that maybe you intended for yourself or what you were expecting before you decided to go full-time into, you know, your own business of reselling?
So I never really had a plan. I was kind of just flying by the seat of my pants, you know. So my dad was a land developer, construction developer. And I was he has his own business. And I was kind of thinking, well, I could probably work for him. Mm-hmm. So I originally was enrolled at Arizona State University because they had a good construction development program.
Go Sun Devils.
And then what's that?
Go Sun Devils? Or no, it's the...
They're all right.
Who is it?
It is Sun Devils.
Oh,
but,
okay.
We like the Wildcats.
Oh,
and so,
wow.
Yeah, U of A. But I went and visited the school, and I was walking around, and it was deadly hot. And I just, you know, I don't really love the city. Yeah. I love being on the outskirts or being in a
Is it
small
in
town.
Phoenix?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I was down there, and I started freaking out. I had about 3 or 4 months left until school started. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Like, this is not what I want. I don't care about construction. I don't like Arizona as much as I thought I did. What do I do? So I really kind of sold myself short when it came to applying to colleges. I only applied to 3 colleges. Mm-hmm. And one of the other ones that I had gotten into was Washington State University. And that's where I had a bunch of friends going. My brother had gone there.
Because you're from Washington.
From Washington, yeah. So local school I was familiar with. And I was like, what am I going to do if I don't want to do construction? So my older sister graduated in a finance degree.
Cool.
So I was like, if she did it, you know, I can do it too. So I just kind of like followed in footsteps for the longest time while I was figuring out what I wanted to do. And after graduating with my finance degree, I worked for a company that my uncle owned in selling industrial plastics.
Okay.
So I was sitting at a cubicle, selling for cold calls, all the good stuff.
Yep.
And, you know, I was just never content. I was just sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? You know, I had opportunities to move up the ladder, but I would have had to travel. I didn't want to travel at the time. And so I was just kind of stuck. And that's when I actually was watching Retro Rick made a $10 game collection challenge.
Oh, I remember that video.
Yeah, started with $10.
Shout out Retro Rick.
Yeah, started with $10 and built it into a massive game collection. And I was like, that's fun. Yeah. You know, that's kind of what I used to do.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do that same thing. So I opened up a bank account. I put $500 in it. And I said, let's see what I can do with this $500. And it's grown into the business I have today.
That's so cool. So would you say because you it sounds like you kind of did some of that on the side before you left your more corporate job. Was there any sort of feeling of, this is a big risk when you decided to take the leap, or maybe, nervousness about how your family would accept the decision, or your loved ones or whatever, when you decided to take that risk? Because I think that one thing that some people take for granted is, especially in the current market where things are so hot and there's, items that are really valuable and money changing hands really frequently at these shows, for example. 3 years ago, it probably wasn't as widely known that you could make good money doing this kind of business. It seemed a bit more risky, a bit more niche. Was there that feeling of risk for you?
I would say, honestly, not really. I was in a position where I kind of knew that I have the experience. Like you said, I was doing it on the side. And so I made sure that I was in a comfortable position before making the jump to go full time.
Yeah.
Once I realized I was making more money doing it on the side than I was at my job.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the goal that I had.
Right.
To make sure that if I leave right now, I will still be able to, hold myself financially.
Yeah, the standard of living doesn't have to crash in order for you to stay alive.
Exactly. And so I knew that I could put everything into the business and, pay myself a little bit less, do whatever I had to do, but I would still be comfortable. And I always knew that, luckily, the company that I had worked for, they were very good to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that if, worst case scenario, it failed, which I never once had a shrouded out that I would fail.
Yeah.
Which I think is extremely important. I just knew that if things were to go wrong, if things worst case scenario, I would be okay.
Yeah.
And I could always, either go back or find a new job or be all right. And when it comes to family, I'm so lucky to have an extremely supportive family.
Cool.
And so they had their hesitations, of course, but it's one of those things where you talk about it and they can see the passion, they can see the excitement, and you can show them the numbers if you need to.
The numbers help too.
Yeah, so you can really show them stuff. And then, thankfully my parents always believed in me. My dad, obviously being an entrepreneur, he loved the idea of it. And so they were fully supportive.
I want to get into, what these last 3 years have brought, because there's going to be, I think, a lot of information that the audience will enjoy hearing about how you've had to pivot from, different IPs and industries when it comes to reselling multiple types of things. But before we do that, you mentioned this kind of feeling of comfort or confidence in yourself that you never really had a belief that you were going to fail. And even if you did fail, then you had, backup plan, support system, etc. Let's dive into that topic of failure and what that would look like. How would you have defined failure in this business venture, given that you had so much confidence in yourself to kind of figure things out regardless of whatever was going to happen?
So when it comes to failure, it is mostly, for me, it would have been not being able to financially support myself.
Okay.
If it was, if I was putting myself in a hole, is one of the biggest things that I never wanted to do. I never wanted to take out any money. I never wanted to borrow any money. I wanted it all to be self-made, self-sustained by myself. And so I knew the second I started, taking loans from the bank or doing what I had to do, even if it was to buy inventory, if it was aside from paying myself or whatever it was, I just knew that if I had to rely on somebody else, I wasn't doing it to the best of my abilities. And that's when I would consider it a failure.
Is that same strategy of, quote unquote bootstrapping, right? The entire business, the side hustle turned into a business. Is that a strategy or an approach that you would recommend to other people?
I would say 100%. Yeah. I mean, I don't ever doubt, like if you take out money, if you take a loan, if you do what you have to do, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that as long as you have a plan. Because a lot of people think that they can take out money or they can borrow it or loan it or whatever it is, and they don't have a plan, and that's how they dig themselves deeper into a hole. Yeah. So for me, it's having experience and like knowing that you can do it part-time. Imagine how much you can make if you put full-time potential into it, all your time. And I just think that if you are doing something and you're going negative, that's okay to an extent. Yeah. You have to know when to cut the bleeding, and some people don't, and they get too deep.
Yeah. I love what you say about the part-time evidence that you give yourself gives you the confidence to take it full-time, right? Because when you're in a position where you really honestly feel like that you are losing opportunities by spending your time elsewhere, then that makes it almost obvious for you to make this decision. It's not just about quality of life. It's about like, man, like by going to my corporate job, I could be leaving money on the table with my side business because my attention has to be split, my time has to be split. And I think that's a really big telltale sign. I remember feeling that same way about content creation or going to shows or whatever. I was like, man, those 40 hours, or let's be honest, it's more than 40 hours because you're not just at the office. You have to travel there. You have to think about it. You have to recover when you get home and decompress. And it's like your whole life. It's more like 60 hours when you really put it to, put it to thought that you're spending outside of your side hustle. And if you had that 60 hours back, your success would feel almost inevitable, right?
Yeah. And honestly, like, it was pretty funny. I had pretty lenient coworkers. So sometimes on my lunch break, I'd line up a deal.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey,
I remember this too.
It's going to take me an hour and a half to come back.
Exactly. Lunch might be long today, and I might still be hungry when I get back.
My manager would go, just bring me something back. Bring me a burger back or something, So I was very lucky with that, but there was always the thought.
Yeah.
I was spending all my days at work looking on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or wherever it was.
Yep.
So I was just spending. It was basically like I was working full time at somebody else's office. Mm-hmm. And when I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like I could be unlocking so much potential being outside of this.
Yeah.
And
feeling more honest about how you're spending your time, because you don't want to be at somebody else's office and working on your own business. Like at a certain point, that feels a little bit like corporate theft.
It does, yeah. So I don't know. It's just knowing that you have a feeling, like within yourself if you are doing it on the side, when you can feel comfortable making that jump. And even if you're not comfortable, that's okay. You don't have to be comfortable. Sometimes the best things in life come out of being uncomfortable.
I love that.
And putting yourself through that situation, whether you fail and you learn and you figure out what you messed up on and you try again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the perfect scenario. If you wait for the perfect scenario, it'll never come.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to kind of be a theme of our conversation, which is like you have to keep stacking evidence in favor of what you're trying to do, and that's what builds your confidence. Mm-hmm. Let's dive into the last 3 years, right? So you hinted at multiple different types of things you've had to sell, different market types, different items, products, different types of shows, different sales channels I'm sure you've had to explore. I know that you guys sell on Whatnot, and you have a website. I know you sell in person a lot, and I'm sure you do deals outside of these shows in person and lots of different channels. So let's start with you got inspired by the video game challenge. So that sounds like maybe it was primarily a video game-based business at the beginning. Am I right?
Yeah, okay. Pretty much solely video games.
Okay. And has that always been the case up until recently with the cards, or kind of walk us through some of these transitions you've been through?
Yeah, so when I went full-time, I realized, I have all this extra time to learn about other avenues. My biggest thing was having, knowing the low-hanging fruit of every category, essentially.
What's the easy money?
Yes, and so that's when, sneakers started getting big, and my sister works for Nike, and so I was already kind of into shoes. And then I kind of, I realized like, hey, if you get lucky and you get a drop or something, you can make some good money.
Yeah.
So I would, tap into this industry, and I knew a bunch of friends that bought vintage clothing. They'd go to the Goodwill or thrift stores and they'd find these shirts. And so they'd do these Instagram auctions where you'd go live on Instagram and auction off clothing. And I was like, cool. That sounds great. So, I started doing a little bit of that. I was going live on Instagram like once a week, selling vintage shirts and showing them off. And so a little bit of everything, but it was always video games was the main focus. But I don't know. I always tried. I'd have, you should see our garage now. We've got printer ink. We've got toys and trinkets and anime CDs or whatever I could find. I'd be on estate sales watching. They do the
Swan's
auctions.
Emporium is really just is a title for your garage.
Pretty much, yeah. We've got definitely have a hodgepodge of randomness in there.
I love it.
And as I honed into a specific category, I'd look at everything around and I go, "What was I doing?
Yeah,
I got a Denver Broncos crock pot down here. Like, what is this? So looked it up on eBay.
They'll sell to somebody.
It'll sell, and then I just don't want to list it because it's big and it just sits there.
I love
Next thing
it.
you know, I'm gonna be cooking in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Shout out Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very interesting, very diverse. That's a background that I think a lot of the vendors that are in our space now might not resonate with, because a lot of them are maybe newer to the scene since the card market has really taken over a huge part of the reselling market. What did you learn, experimenting with all those different product types? And, what are some good takeaways? And then what are maybe some negative takeaways that you've had to learn from?
So good takeaways was definitely that there is money in almost everything. So I very quickly learned, and I am a huge advocate of there's money in everything. I was one time at an estate sale, and there was a guy specifically who only resold mason jars.
Wow.
So I was just, something you would never think of. And the guy is, this is what I do.
I'm sure he buys those for 10 cents a piece or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess during certain seasons, they're worth more money. But
wow.
I just very quickly learned from seeing other people do it that there's money everywhere. So my logo being a trash can full of money, it's originated from one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
That's something that I really believe in because, people go dumpster diving.
Yeah.
And they find stuff that's worth money. There's money to be made everywhere.
So your favorite Pokemon is Garbodor then?
Not so much. But one of the negative things about that, though, is when you know that there's money to be made everywhere, you kind of want to be everywhere.
Yeah, you can't turn your brain off to the deal opportunity.
Exactly. So I had a really, really bad problem of not saying no. I'd see an opportunity to make some coin, and I would take it. I'd chomp at it, and it would just become so overwhelming. So that's kind of why I have all this stuff in the garage still. Is because I'd go to somewhere, anywhere, and I'd see something, and I go, I don't really know anything about that. Let me see if it's worth any money.
Wow.
And I'd buy it because it was, and then it's not something that I had passion about.
Yeah.
So it would just sit there.
Yeah, what you're talking about is the opportunity cost of time spent.
Yes.
Give me an example, dive into a specific example where, the opportunity cost of your time spent was, extremely high. You spent way more time than you were able to get out of the deal or the flip or whatever, and you ended up regretting it.
Well, honestly, in a super wide sense, that's kind of how video games in general were for me. So that's one of the main reasons that I switched to cards, because with video games, what a lot of people don't know is there is such an amazing time commitment to flipping video games. It's not as easy as cards where someone hands you something, you look at it, you know exactly what it is face value, you can put it right in your case and sell it. With video games, you get it in, and it's usually dusty or crusty or musty. It's
being used.
Yes, it can be broken at times. Needs to be repaired. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be tested. You need to have all the parts for it. If you get a console and it doesn't have cords, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
So you got to source the cords, and then you got to store them. You got to take pictures. You got to list them. There's such a lengthy process. So when you buy big collections, and you're thinking, man, I got this at a great price, because generally you buy at lower percentages because of all the work that comes into it. But then you realize, oh man, all these discs are scratched. I need to buy a $2,000 disc repair machine.
Wow.
So that's a big investment. And then you got to spend all the time resurfacing the discs.
Do you own a disc repair machine?
I do, yes.
Oh my gosh, you were so deep, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I've got all the repair parts. I've got everything that you can need to run a successful video game business. And I don't use any of it anymore.
Wow.
And so I'd get these lots and I'd be so excited about it. And I did it the opposite. Most people want to sell the more expensive stuff and get their money back as fast as possible. But because I have that collector inside of me, I wanted to hang on to the expensive stuff. So I would work on the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And that would just I'd get so burnt out. Because I'm thinking about how much work has to go into it to get my money back.
Exactly.
And then after I get my money back, then I have to keep working to make the profit. And so the entirety of video games, the space, the time, the placement parts, the repairs, everything that went into it, it all was kind of built into that category of just, this is not worth my time anymore.
Wow. That's fascinating. And it totally makes a lot of sense, especially if you are heavy into video games and then maybe you have some cards, and then you're realizing the liquidity of the cards and the ease of their resale and the frequency at which they appreciate in value when you're holding on to them and you're making money while they're sitting in your display case. It probably becomes really hard to justify the time investment and money investment of having video games or some other thing there that is not going to be able to compete from a resellability standpoint as the trading card.
Yeah, I also just lost passion for it.
Why?
I used to have, up until even a month ago, in my room, I posted a collection tour video.
I watched the whole videos.
And
great.
I had the dual CRT TVs with all the consoles set up. And,
I own one of those as well.
Yeah, everything that you could need to just plug and play. And I was so excited because I have buddies that, we love playing old, Nintendo 64 or GameCube, whatever it is. And I kind of realized that when you're working so much, unfortunately, you don't have as much time to have everybody over. And if you do have everybody over, you don't really want to be cooped up in a basement playing video games. Yeah. Sometimes it's amazing. And, I still have and cherish some of the stuff from my childhood and my favorite games that we can still do that.
Yeah.
But having an entire room in the house dedicated to it when, we're cooped up in a small little room doing all the work and I have this entire room just dedicated to something I don't really use. And I'd look at my games and I'd go, I've never played this game before.
Yeah.
I don't even have any interest.
Yeah.
Or if I do plug it in and play it, I play it for about 5 minutes and then I think about, man, I should be doing something else.
I know exactly that feeling. It's almost, it's like a sad feeling.
It's
a sad
feeling.
recognition.
Mm-hmm. And so you just kind of like, man, you play these games to kind of escape.
Yeah.
And to not think about anything else. But when you're passionate about something and you enjoy doing it and you're doing it all the time,
you don't need to escape.
You don't need to escape, yeah, and you think about it while you're doing other things all the time.
Yep.
And you enjoy it rather than when you're working a corporate job and you're hating it and you're still thinking about it. So it just became too much.
Wow. What a bittersweet realization.
It was, but it also was easier than I expected it to be. With both video games and Pokemon cards. When I have cards that I love, I tell myself that I love them.
I need to own this for me.
I collect them. I love looking at them. And then you put them away. And then you look at them a month later and you're like, man, I love these cards.
Still like this.
And then a month later you're like, do I love these cards? I just look at them like once a month.
Exactly.
And then you have such a hard time selling them. And then you sell them and you never think about them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I did that so many times to the point where I realized, if I sell this, I'm going to be okay. And if I'm not okay, I'll find it again.
I'll find a way to get it back.
I'll find a way to get it back. If it really means that much to me, I will care, and I'll get it back.
Yeah. Wow, what a healthy take on the entire hobby, honestly. Again, you are now compared to a lot of people, including myself, you're a seasoned veteran in reselling. Give out a little bit of free game, not necessarily maybe like specific to the market, but let's say you're talking to a version of yourself 3-4 years ago, totally new, and maybe a little bit concerned about the viability of the business. What's a pointer or two that can steer a person like that in the right direction?
Honestly, just stick to one thing and master it.
Okay.
It's
master a trade instead of being a jack of many.
Yes, you can do both, but you need to hone in on one thing specifically.
Yeah.
And it's really important to know what you're doing. Research, figure it out, learn by doing. Learn and fail.
Learn by doing.
Yes, it's a very real thing because so many people, they spend their time researching online or watching other people do it, and they think, if this person can do it, I can do the exact same thing.
Yep.
You can do what they're doing. Don't ever think that you can't do what other people are doing. That's what holds a lot of people back. Is they're like, and this guy's so successful, he's doing this, I can't do that. You can. You really can. But you have to do it.
Yep.
And so you can get as much knowledge as you can online, but it's the real experiences, it's the real interactions that really train you.
Yeah.
And so you go into it, you pick your niche, and you can have other hobbies and other things that you're into, but just know what you're doing in one category, and that'll transcend to other categories.
Yeah.
Even if you're not as knowledgeable in them, you'll understand the basics, and that'll help you from getting put back on one category and then having to kind of shy away from it. If you know the basics, you know the understandings, the research, you know what to look up, what to say, what to talk about, what to buy. Mm-hmm. You can dabble in other things and be okay. And even if you fail, you can go back to your own lane. You have something to go back to.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just they spend a lot of time not doing, and I think you just need to get out there and just start.
Yeah.
And it holds a lot of people back, but it is very exciting to see. I know we talk about how there's you go to shows and you see a lot of new faces.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of people that are getting inspired and they are wanting to try it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, that's all it really takes. So if you're sitting at home and you have something that you want to be doing or want to be trying, you have to try it, or else you'll never know if it's going to be some avenue that you can actually take.
Yeah.
So
I love it. You mentioned a lot of new faces at these shows. I imagine many of them are inspired by content online.
Definitely.
That they're consuming, researching, have been exposed to, etc. And you even said yourself that you were inspired to kind of take this business, or at least the side hustle, more seriously by a content creator, being Retro Rick. I went through a very similar thing. I found his content. I found Chase After the Right Price. I found Phoenix Resale, all these guys doing video games. Went to my first video game con, and then I already had been collecting cards, and then I automatically discovered the Bulbasaur, and I discovered Pack Battle and Trading Card Empire, and these guys who were doing vendor point of view content. And that's something that you also do now. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about a little bit of content creation, because you've been reselling for years now, but you haven't been creating content for that long. So, or maybe I'm wrong, but tell me about kind of how you started to get into YouTube Shorts, YouTube long form, and other avenues of content creation.
yeah, so it doesn't feel like it, but I've actually been making videos for about 3 years now.
Okay.
And it kind of sporadic.
All about reselling?
All about reselling,
Okay.
yeah. So it would be, I make a video about a Funko lot that I picked up, or I would do like what sold on eBay this week. I was just trying different avenues, trying to figure out what worked for me.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing as I was saying earlier, that you gotta do it to know what you enjoy doing and what works for you.
Yeah.
So I would try all these different. I always loved watching the like live garage sale videos. Where
Yes.
people would have the chest strap and they'd go and find stuff.
Yep.
So I was thinking, should I do some of that?
And just lowball everybody at their own house.
Exactly. And so I was just thinking about all these different things that I enjoyed watching and enjoyed doing, and I was like, I'm just gonna record and see what happens. And dabbled in a little bit of Pokemon cards. So started watching Bulbasaur was one of the first vendor POV videos that I started watching. Shout out to Dylan. And I was like, wow, my least favorite thing about doing content is talking directly to the camera.
Wow, okay.
And so the thing that I loved the most about vendor POVs when I first saw them was you don't really have to do that as much.
Right. You're just capturing tons of organic interactions.
Exactly. And so that's what I love doing at shows, is just talking to people, interacting with people, doing just deals, BSing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just a real interaction. And half the time I don't even remember the camera's there until I have to, show the camera the deal.
Same thing. In fact, I forget a lot.
Yeah. And so it was that feeling of like, I tried it. I tried doing the vlogs and holding the camera up and talking, and I would just be fumbling over my words, or just I'd feel more not embarrassed, but like I'd have more anxiety talking to myself than I would talking to somebody else. So
sure.
My fiance is a huge supporter of it, and so sometimes I'd have her in the room and just be like, let me pretend like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So it feels more comfortable.
Yeah.
I just needed something to be comfortable. And after realizing like I don't want to like force myself to do something that I'm not comfortable with.
Sure.
And that's,
yeah. Well, I mean, you left corporate for that exact reason too. Like you left it so you could pursue something that felt natural to you. It came easily to you. It was fun. It was inspiring. You have a passion around it. And then like you're feeling maybe compelled to add this piece of the business that isn't coming as naturally. Mm-hmm. That would sound a lot like work to me.
Yeah, definitely. Spending so many times just taking take after take after take about something that I didn't really care that much about, but I just wanted to get some videos out.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, when I saw the structure of the vendor POV, I thought, well, I'm already doing half of this.
Yeah.
Why not just throw the camera up and see how it goes? And so I used to have my phone and I'd tape it with masking tape to a tripod, and just record on my phone, and my phone would die, or I didn't have a mic for the first few videos, and I was like, wow, I can't hear anything. So a lot of trial and error, and eventually upgraded the setup, and it just felt so easy and natural doing it that way. And the editing portion of it at the beginning wasn't too bad, because the whole point of the vendor POV is to watch the interactions.
Kind of long form.
Yeah, and so I was really enjoying the pace of it, and I was like, I can see myself continue to do this, and so far been posting a long form once a week and a short every single day for almost the entire year.
I love it. I'm of the opinion that our business, especially in the Pokemon world, like so much of it is driven by the attention of the community. And I believe that modern social media strategy is really designed around capturing attention. So they're perfectly married.
Yes.
And creating content around a Pokemon card show, for example, I think, like you've learned and now experienced, it's like you're already doing all of the content creating. All you need to do is turn on the camera. But there's another side of it, which is it creates a following, which for many reasons is positive, but for some reasons can be negative. You and I talked kind of privately, I guess, a couple weeks ago about what is the best way to, manage the influx of attention, whether it's deals that can pop up or people messaging you or emailing you, or just coming to see you in person at some of these shows. Has that been hard to manage? And what have you learned about maybe that old lesson you had to learn about the opportunity cost of your time?
Yeah, it's definitely something that weighs pretty heavily on me. I'm very thankful, to have the following that I do. I'm very thankful every single time somebody comes up, says hello, says they watch the videos, whatever it is. It's something that, doesn't feel real to a certain point. And so it's extremely overwhelming just knowing that there are real people out there that are watching what I'm doing and they're
right
enjoying
now.
it and they're talking about it and they want to reach out and they want to say hello. And I feel like I'm obligated to reply to every single person, and it's because I truly do just appreciate people when they reach out and when they say stuff. So it feels like I'm doing a disservice to them to not reply. And so I've kind of been battling with the influx of messages and having to spend my time replying to people. And it does sound silly, thinking about it and talking about it, like, man, this guy's complaining about having to reply to some message, but it is taxing. It really is when you get a lot of messages that don't even pertain to anything relevant to what you're doing. People asking for advice, people asking, they're sending paragraphs of, I found this, what's this worth? They kind of want you to answer everything for them. And, that's kind of the main reason that we put out content is, it is a form of education.
It is.
You're kind of learning how we do deals and how everybody does deals and how everyone interacts with each other.
Yeah.
And so kind of the answers are already available. And that's kind of the thing where it gets a little shaky, where it's like, I don't want to have to make an entire video dedicated to a certain question that I get all the time just because I know that some people aren't going to watch it and they're still going to ask the same question.
Yeah, exactly. And one month after you post that video, you're still going to get the same question in your DMs from someone who hasn't seen the video. Yeah.
And so it really is like I have Johnny that helps me work, but it really is just me doing all the social media and everything, doing the posting and doing the replies. It's always just me. And so I don't know what it is, but sometimes I'll look at my phone, I'll see the notifications and I just get overwhelmed and I just I don't even want to reply to anybody. And I'm thinking half of these might not even be anything to do with the videos. They could just be my friends, or they could be, people wanting to sell me stuff or buy stuff from me. And so there's opportunities that could be hidden in there that I might be missing out on. And that's another thing that weighs on me. And another thing that I've kind of had a struggle with just replying in general is I found myself not replying to the people that are important to me. So if I get a bunch of texts or if a friend reaches out or, sometimes my mom will ask me a question.
I've done this
I'm just
times.
overwhelmed by the amount of messages. Even if it's it kind of sounds like, I'm not even making it sound like I'm getting all these messages. It's really, that's another problem that I have is it's
just a lot for you.
It's a manageable amount to you would assume, but it just every single day, it kind of beats you down a little bit, even though it's technically an uplifting thing.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird kind of scenario, and that's why I find it so difficult to manage.
Yeah.
But once I started realizing, my buddy texted me to hang out And I just didn't even reply.
Weeks go by, and then you realize, wait, I got a text from what's his name about a hike or whatever you're going to do, and just let it slip. And so the relationships that are truly important to you are like getting drowned out in some ways.
Yes, and so that I wanted to ask you specifically when we talk, how do you manage it? Because I'm sure it's a much larger scale. I know that, like I said, very thankful for every single person that watches me, but I know that everywhere there's going to be someone bigger than you. Everywhere, no matter how big you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's a struggle, but you overcome it. You kind of figure out how to deal with it. You kind of prioritize your time and which messages deserve your time. And I feel like everybody deserves your time to an extent.
Sure.
To an extent, if you're bombarding people with, I don't know, irrelevant messages that have nothing to do with anything that's important, I don't know. It's just kind of like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to reply to this.
Yeah.
And so I do feel bad, but at the end of the day, I've met people and I've talked to them, and people that have sent me messages that I might not have seen, might have missed, and they're okay.
They're okay.
Yeah. And so it comes to the realization of through trial and error and through living and doing it and learning and experiencing it that at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
That's right.
Like, I'm just a single person just living my life trying to do what I need to do to survive. So.
Yeah. Managing the expectations of people and trying to make as many people happy as possible is always a moving target. And you got to have grace with yourself for sure, especially if your intentions are good. And for the most part, I would say that people are trying to reach out to you to connect with you because you've connected with them. And there is a bit of a parasocial relationship, of course, that forms when, your voice and your face is on in their living room for hours and you've never met them or know their name. But you just do your best and you try to take care of the people that are most important to you. And again, you do need to be protective of your time, though.
Yeah.
And that is something that it's a moving target. It's going to change over time. So I think you've done a great job with it.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your business a little bit.
Yep.
You are not in this all alone. You have at least one employee.
Yep.
Just one or multiple?
Just, I guess technically two.
Okay.
Technically two. I got very, very blessed. Shout out to Legacy, my editor. He is, he was just a guy who enjoyed the content at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Way before, when it first started. And he was local to me, and he met me at a show, and he asked to help edit the videos. And so I got an editor pretty early on, and that was a huge load off my plate.
Wow.
And so very, very thankful how that all happened, because I have so many buddies that want to create content, but they can't get past the editing part.
It's prohibitively time consuming.
Yeah, and so that was a huge thing. So, he's part of the team for sure. And then, of course, I've got Johnny, who comes to all the shows with me, and he runs my Whatnot streams. He pretty much handles everything that has to do with singles. He used to do all my sealed, but now, I enjoy the sealed now myself. And so pretty much singles are all his category, and then the Whatnot stream, and he's been an amazing help with pretty much everything.
Yeah. I love that. Let's talk about Marketplace.
Yes.
You have made a pretty significant transition away from video games and now almost exclusively cards. Is that right?
Almost. I still sell on eBay.
Okay.
The listing does not happen as often as I would like. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of stuff that needs to get listed, and it just kind of sits there. But pretty much, I'd say 95% of my time is dedicated to Pokemon in regards to reselling.
Okay. And that's been the case for how long now that you've been probably a vast majority into the cards?
Probably at this point a little over a year. Okay. Honestly, the timeline gets messed up pretty easily when I think about it, because
it's fast-paced
It is very fast-paced, especially when you're traveling. Mm-hmm. You're going to different cities and different states almost every weekend at some points, and so time kind of just flies by. You know, when you're at the shows, you're sitting there, standing there. I don't sit.
Yeah, exactly.
And
this is a job after all.
Yeah, next thing you know, it's like, wow, it's been 8 hours. Felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so time gets really, really consumed. I don't know that's a word, but
something.
It changes a lot. You're just sitting there, and I go, it's Tuesday, and You know, it'll be Sunday or Monday or something. I'm like, where did the time go?
That is something about this business that I think people underestimate, which is its ability to utterly eat your time.
Yeah.
And the days slip by, and I a lot of the time don't know what day of the week it is, and that's kind of scary almost. But so about a year now that you've been pretty heavy into Pokemon, you're when I'm at your table, you're someone who is very savvy with the value of your cards, whether it's vintage, mid-air, or modern, whether it's singles, slabs, or sealed product. You got your ear to the ground. You're trying to make really smart deals, and you know the margins that you need to stick to. You're very comfortable with the liquidity of different items. You're a professional. What are you seeing in today's market? And obviously this is a huge question, but what are you seeing that excites you, and what are you seeing that worries you?
Definitely one of the things that excites me is seeing the different things that blow up in value. Okay. So the waves that go through the Pokemon eras is incredible. And
It's like
predicting
everybody's eyes are all on one thing at a certain time, and then it moves.
Yep.
And then you said predicting it.
Yeah. So, you can kind of see the wave where it's, modern, and then it's, not like level X's and primes, and then it's EXs, and it's like, where's this going? Gold stars. And now I was thinking, Shinings. Shinings are super undervalued. I love the Shinings. That's what I grew up on, is the Wizards of the Coast stuff. And so true vintage stuff, like that kind of stuff excites me. The Wizards of the Coast first edition 10s. Oh my goodness, I'm salivating thinking about it. But it's really, really cool to see the trends. And the best part is it's not like when something blows up, everything else is forgotten. People like to hone in on what's big right now, and they forget about everything else. There's so much Pokemon. There are still cards to this day where I see them, and I've never seen this card before.
Yeah, and it's like has value. It's like, this is a $100 card. I've never owned it. I've never seen it.
Yeah. And so it's just the whole, when you're passionate about it, everything kind of excites you. Yeah. Especially when it comes to pricing, there's nothing better than calling your shot and it hitting. It is too good, especially because of the margins in this market. If you call the right shot, there is some extreme money to be made.
Yeah, it's utterly similar to the roulette table, unfortunately.
It is.
Feels about as good, too.
Yeah. We're not going to get into that, though. Very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, none of us ever go to Vegas or gamble. No. We don't recommend that to you.
But it's kind of the same on the other side, though. Because people chase the wave. And that's where it can become a negative.
What does that mean?
So basically, if you're not doing it, if you're not in the know, and just being in the know is just being around it and seeing, I'm seeing a lot more of this specific card at a table. I'm seeing those specific cards' prices go up.
Yeah.
Maybe I should start getting into this. And if you're a little bit behind the wave, you're going to be at the top when it crashes. And thankfully, we're not really seeing massive crashes. We are seeing some resistances when it comes to certain cards. And a lot of people will invest a lot of money into certain things that they think are going to hit, or they've already hit, and they're expecting it to continue hitting. And, that's a lot of capital that you could be putting into a specific thing, and then you're missing out on opportunities elsewhere. And if those things, we're seeing Gold Star prices exploding. Yeah. Gold Star 10s are, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, 200,000
5,
for
6,
some.
10x what they were 6, 8 months ago.
Exactly. And so now everybody's invested so much money into them that they're not selling because they're so expensive. And people go, well, how much room does this really have to grow?
Yes.
And even if it does grow, people are afraid. It's great to hold on to a card and have it go up in value forever.
Yeah.
But if your intention is to sell it and your money's wrapped into it, and you're not selling it, doesn't matter if it's going up in price.
Even for these, cash-rich vendors, who, like, where the money doesn't even feel real, they'll have enough money still into a card where they're like, this feels a little risky for me. Yep. It's still a piece of cardboard at the end of the day.
It's exactly. So it's just, I'm a big, big advocate of diversifying. And so when it comes to Pokemon, I've never shied away from anything.
Okay.
Any era, any grade. If you guys have been to my table before, I usually have a mixture of weird graded vintage cards or 9s and 8s and 4s and 2s and 3s, whatever it is.
Yeah, stuff I would never buy from you.
And that's okay because somebody will, you know? And that's one of the things that I've told everybody. A lot of my vendor friends, they'll tell me, why did you buy this? What is this? It's a random,
PSA 6 Alakazam base set.
Yeah, and I go, because somebody wants to have that card in a slab and they don't want to pay the premium and they just, their favorite number 6.
That's right.
Who knows? There is a collector or somebody out there for every single card.
Yeah.
And so I'm never one to put myself into a box and just, specifically target, the market or target my favorite era or this favorite era. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You want to appease to everybody. And if you can do that by having a large amount of singles from all eras, slabs of all eras with different grades, sealeds of all eras, the cheap stuff to the expensive stuff. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket and you can't sell that, you're stuck with it.
It's a fascinating take because if you go to some of these bigger card shows around the country, you will undoubtedly see vendors who have an extremely homogenous inventory type, where it's like 15 cards, they're all gold stars, and the cheapest one is $4,000, right? Yep. So they're unilateral in price point, card type, and quantity. And you look at that and think, I'm going to do the exact opposite of that.
Correct, yeah. I know people that do that exact same thing, and if they don't sell a card, they're having a bad show.
Right.
It may take one sale to make the whole weekend.
Right.
But if you don't get that one sale, it's a failure. You're spending a lot of money to go to these shows. A lot of travel, a lot of stay, booth tables, everything that goes into it, your time.
Yeah.
And so to, like I said, have all your eggs in one basket and for nothing to sell.
Yeah.
It's almost a waste of time.
What's fascinating, though, Derek, is that it almost is a matter of preference, because I'm sure if we were able to talk to some of these guys in a forum like this, they would tell us that, I hear that, I could have a bad show, but a good show means that they sell a card and they have a 5-figure margin.
Yeah.
And some of these guys, they get a card and when they do finally move it, it's like 6 paychecks worth of increase to their bottom line or to their, inventory value, if it's a part trade, for example. So is it really just down to a preference, or do you really feel like the business approach of having, a much more diverse inventory type is a better business decision?
I honestly believe it's a better business decision. I think being able to have customers come to your table and they don't need to spend $10,000. They can spend $10. Mm-hmm. And then guess what? You build yourself a new customer that might come back to your table, a reoccurring customer that next time might want to spend $100.
Yeah, because they recognize your face and the experience was pleasant.
Exactly. And, you have to be able to appease to everybody. You've got the high rollers. Don't worry. I've got the expensive cards here. You've got the normal, regular people that are just coming to a card show to put some cards in their binders. And if you don't have anything, you're not going to sell to them.
Yeah.
And I think that you can do a specific style of vending, whether it be all-in-one or everything, in a certain way that will get you more sales and appease to more people. Because if you're one of those vendors, that have 6 cards at their table and they're all $50,000, that's great, and that may be how you want to vend, but so many people are just going to walk
right by.
And if you're okay with just having that one sale and you're good, then you're good. Everybody vends a different way, but I think having the money flowing and being able to talk and interact with more people and growing your customer base in the long term is going to be more successful.
Yeah.
Because you may have, it's really hard to say, because if you have all these high-end cards, you're going to attract more high-end cards.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to attract more high-end buyers.
Mm-hmm.
And then those high-end buyers, with all that money, they're going to think about you. But then you have to upkeep having these high-end cards, which are harder to get. So there's pros and cons to both. Whereas if you have all of it, you can get the high-end guys and the low-end guys that come to you and call you back.
Yeah.
And I just don't ever want to not miss an opportunity, but have to turn somebody away because, hey, you came with $5 to the card show, get lost, get more money. I don't ever want to do that. I don't want anyone to feel like they can't come to a card show anymore and just spend a couple bucks and enjoy their time.
Yeah, you don't want your inventory to alienate anybody.
Exactly.
Interesting. Well, so that we kind of went down a rabbit hole there when you mentioned that you were excited about the waves that we see in the different generations and the values and that kind of stuff. What are you worried about? What scares you in the market today?
I mean, pretty much what everybody would say is inevitable, the crash. I don't know if it's going to crash, and I'm not going to predict it's going to crash. You know, I'm going to be safe. I'm not going to have every dollar I own in product. I want to diversify in every aspect. And it is scary to think about these cards being this expensive.
Well, what is a crash? What does a crash mean to you?
To me, a crash just means things start dropping down in price. You know, 50% cut in half prices.
So a 50% cut would be a crash to you?
Yeah, honestly, I think if you're seeing everybody selling and nobody buying, you know, that's when it starts to get concerning, and everybody's trying to undercut everybody, and, you know, they're fighting tooth and nail to get rid of all their stuff. You know, the thing about Pokemon, the reason that I don't really feel scared, the reason that I'm confident in it is because it's been around for so long. It's always been so strong. And if everybody wants to get out, there's always going to be the people that are still in it. And whether they're buying those expensive cards that you're sitting on and losing money on, or they're not, you know, there's going to be people that, it's not like one day everybody's going to jump ship from Pokemon. We've seen that in different scenarios or different hobbies and toys and this, where people are hit the trend and then they're gone. But with Pokemon, because of the long history of it, very long, and the passion and the love for it, I can't see it possibly disappearing to the point where everybody's moving on to something else. Some people will, if there is a dip. Some people will get scared and leave.
Yeah.
But with everything that goes down, has to come back up, you know, ebbs and flows. Honestly, it's kind of weird to say, but I'm not really scared of anything right now. I'm kind of, if prices go down, you know, you buy at a percentage, you know? So if it's a $400 card and then it's a $200 card, you don't have to buy it like it's a $400 card anymore.
Yeah.
So, and again, there's card shows every weekend. There's people that love Pokemon, new Pokemon games that blow up excitement. There's so many people that are into it that I don't ever think it's going to die, per se.
Yeah.
To the point where everybody needs to go somewhere else. I think that there's always going to be enough people to at least buy, sell, trade. At the very minimum. Not huge scale vending, maybe. You know, who knows? Nobody can predict the future, but there's always going to be collectors. There's always going to be investors. There's always going to be people involved. And it's the same thing you could say with the sneaker game.
Sure.
A lot of people that aren't into the sneaker game may not know, but it was huge during COVID. Massive, bigger than ever.
I remember seeing content.
Yeah, there's always content on sneakers blew up. But you got to remember, sneakers have been coming out for 40 years.
Yeah.
And people have always been lining up for the new pair of J's, whatever it is. It just hit a spike and then dropped back down. But it may be down right now, but there's still people buying and selling sneakers.
Yeah,
there's
big
still
secret collections, people,
There's still a community, tight-knit group, big scale vending shows, everything that still go on, and there's still money to be made. So it's the scary part is having everything in it, knowing that if something were to go down, you would take a huge financial hit.
Yeah.
And so that's why like I said, diversifying everything I have, because the chances of everything going down at the same time are pretty slim. If trends start going that way, you can kind of see it and pick up on it and start moving a certain way that you need to move. But it's always just important to, you know, not have everything into your inventory.
Yeah. Definitely make sure you have a little emergency fund and that kind of stuff.
Of course, yeah. I think everyone should have at least a 6-month emergency fund sitting in their bank account ready to go in case anything, a worst case scenario, you know, you're out of income and you need help. So
very wise, Derek. Dude, I appreciate your time. Your story is fascinating, and I think that it specifically will resonate with a lot of people. The decisions that you've made, the things you've had to encounter, the lessons that you've had to learn, and the skills you've had to develop, all very, I think, intrinsic to the experience that we're all going through. Now, some of us for longer than others, and again, you're a seasoned vet, and hopefully we can have you on in the future episodes, talk about some things that are going on. Market's always changing. We never know what's going to happen, but it sounds like Derek from Swan's Emporium will endure whatever the market does.
That's right. Hey, as a full-time salesman, essentially, you got to be able to endure it all. I mean, you're going to go
punches.
You're going to go through everything. You're going to see it all, and it's just kind of how you react to it. And so,
I love it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.
Where can the people find you, man?
They can find me on swansemporium.com. They can find me Swans Emporium on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much any social media platform. I'm all over it, posting every single day. Come say hi, message me. I might reply.
I love it. Check him out, guys. Appreciate your time.
Of course. Only a couple voice cracks. Let's go.
Take it easy, guys. Bye. Lighting's good. Audio's good.
Audio's good. Y'all look good. You're both showing so much leg.
I know. I was looking at that.
It's really funny.
You're looking great. How's that? Is that a little better?
There's so, like, a lot of leg.
We're athletic
I'm
gentlemen.
kind of into it.
Hey, everyone says I wear booty shorts. So, it is what it is.
When you have a big booty, every shorts are booty shorts.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes even jeans are.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Ready?